Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me is Kleidon, CEO of Ojai Energetics and Chairman of the California Hemp Council, to discuss the science and technology behind the cannabis business and what it can mean for the future. Will, it's great to meet with you. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Ojai Energetics is described as a triple bottom line driven cannabis technology company. What does that mean?
So we are dedicated not only to financial health, but also planetary and social health.
And Will, we hear so much about cannabis legalization and legislation and so forth. Let's take a deeper dive. Tell us about the history of hemp and CBD and the use cases.
It's quite robust. So it's likely one of the first cultivated vegetables in humans' history. We know at the precipice of agricultural society near the Altai mountain ranges, right when agronomy kind of started there, it was recorded. There's evidence pre-recording, but it's a little more shaky. But from 6000 BC in China, it was documented as one of the primary treasure herbs. We know that the Scythians took it and brought it to the Greeks, who then brought it to the Romans, and then anywhere Rome colonized, they brought it. They brought it to the British and to the Spanish, who then brought it anywhere they colonized. There's evidence that it was actually in the Americas before colonists arrived, but we've had a fairly ubiquitous history of working with this plant for millennia. And so we've really been living in the anomalous period of prohibition for about a century now. And so it's very good and exciting that we're moving out of that phase and able to enjoy what's been humanity's one of its prime commodity crops for millennia.
And you're built for cracking the CBD code by creating the cleanest and most effective CBD-rich hemp products on the planet. What differentiates your process?
So we figured out how to encapsulate the cannabinoids in water-soluble particles using only certified organic plants in the same particle size that our body does when we digest the cannabinoids in their fat-soluble format. The reason that's important is our bodies aren't very efficient at processing cannabinoids. The technical term is it's got low bioavailability, meaning what you eat, your body is not able to use much of. So if you eat 20 milligrams of a CBD extract, only 2 milligrams make it into the body that can actually be used. 90% of it is destroyed. And so by encapsulating it in this water-soluble format in the same particle size, it enables it to rapidly get into the bioavailability. In turn skyrockets, which enables people to get an effective dose of cannabidiol. I'd argue the majority of the population has never taken an effective dose to actually properly engage the endocannabinoid system. And so we figured out how to be able to deliver that safely and effectively and affordably to the populace.
And what are the different use cases for CBD hemp oil?
So there's a plethora. So it's a fuel for our body's endocannabinoid system. So our body has a system called an endocannabinoid system, and its purpose is to be the conductor of the entire body. And so it literally has receptors in every single system of the body, and its job is to ensure homeostasis, which means everything is operating at the right levels and in sync with each other. So it's arguably the most important system of the body. A high CBD and a full spectrum of cannabinoids and other compounds that the cannabis plant produces or hemp plant produces are necessary to nourish that system. So if you feed the conductor, it enables the body to be taken care of and optimized at every single system level.
And at this point, can you ship everywhere around the world, or is there still some restrictions and limitations?
There's a bit of a patchwork. It's thankfully moving in the right direction. More and more countries are opening up and realizing the health benefits and the economic benefits of this plant.
And how will cannabis legalization impact the business?
It certainly will further move away from the mythos of the old propaganda campaign of that it's harmful. More and more people will be able to have access to it, and we'll see much more global traction with our various ventures, because we have both pharmaceutical and supplement divisions of our business.
So it sounds like the future for CBD, it's sounding more robust day to day.
It is, yeah. The data continues. In fact, there's a tremendous amount of clinical data around cannabidiol starting in the 60s. And Dr. Raphael Mukulayan discovered the endocannabinoid system in 1991. And it's a more studied compound than what people think. It's exceptionally safe. And the amount of data is mounting on how robust and effective it is in optimizing our bodies.
And your patent portfolio is quite robust. Can you share a little about your plans in energy storage, life sciences, space travel?
Yes. So the cannabis plant is very unique, and it actually has over 50,000 known usages, ranging from nutrient to medicinal, all the way to industrial technologies. One of which we're very excited about is it's actually the strongest natural fiber. It's almost as strong as spider silk. And because of that carbon arrangement, when you carbonize it, it turns out that it's very effective for energy storage. So right now we're using coconut shells predominantly for supercapacitor generation. Hemp is vastly superior. We brought in a PhD from Stanford in molecular engineering to scale that technology. And we're now in CRADA, our working relationship with the Department of Energy at Lawrence Berkeley Labs, which is very exciting. The impact there is tremendous, because what the bench at the same energy density of graphene supercapacitors, but at 1% of the cost. And so if we can remove that barrier to entry, we'll see substantial benefits for energy storage systems, from cars to jets to rockets to renewable energy grid. And then in terms of space travel, when we're traveling in space, and that's going to get more and more frequent, the amount of oxidative stress that puts on the body is immense. And so the endocannabinoid system's job of maintaining homeostasis, one of the ways that it does that is by buffering oxidative stress. And so for our astronauts, the best thing you can do is to properly nourish their endocannabinoid system. And so we patented that. And yeah, the amount of industry beneficial impact across the board with this plant is quite amazing.
Yeah, it really is quite remarkable. And actually throw one more question at you.
Yeah.
When you think about space travel and what it can do for astronauts, and this might sound a bit amateurish of me to ask, but is there any risk of impairment when we think about CBD? You know, it's always correlated to weed and all that other stuff. Is there any risk of impairment? How does that work?
It's a great question. Yeah, so cannabidiol is actually non-intoxicating. In fact, it's part of, we figured out the antidote to THC intoxication. Also, we have that patent issued, and we can get someone totally sober from THC in about 5 minutes, and it's part of that formulation. So it actually blocks the psychoactivity of THC, which is what's responsible for the inebriating varieties of cannabis. A study just came out demonstrating that cannabidiol has zero negative impact on driving ability. And in fact, we're leading the first human studies on how the endocannabinoid system in cannabidiol affects flow state, which is optimal human performance. And some of that, we were doing that in conjunction with my friend and advisor, Stephen Kotler, whose book just came out, a New York Times bestseller on human performance, called it was The Future is Faster Than You Think, and then also The Art of the Impossible. But anyways, we're finding data showing that it not only does it not detract from human performance, it enhances it.
Well, fascinating. Will, thank you so much for the insight and for joining us on Trade Talks. And thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thanks so much for having me.